Welcome to People Doing Good for Others, where we celebrate and praise and honor those who are truly making significant contributions in our communities. I'm Gary York, and I'm grateful to be here with you. We want to thank Wilkes Communications, River Street Networks, and WIFM in Elkin for this opportunity, and thank you again for being part of this outreach. My featured guest today is Ms. Julia Turpin. She's the Wilkes County Librarian. She's been here 3 years, a native of Kentucky, and this is going to be an exciting, informative 30 minutes, so thank you again for being part of this outreach, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Gary.
You came to us from Kentucky. Tell us a little bit about your growing up and a little bit about your calling to be with us.
Well, I grew up in Western Kentucky in Henderson County. Kentucky is a lot like North Carolina in that people refer to the county that they're from, not so much the town. So I'm from Western Kentucky, Henderson County, and I went to the University of Louisville and studied English there. After college, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and I did a little stint teaching English as a second language and traveled around a little bit. And then I had a conversation with my aunt, who is a librarian, and she said, "Julia, you're a librarian, you just don't know it yet." And so I kind of thought, what? I've never really, what? That sounds very stuffy to me. But I have a lot of genuine interest in many different things. So I looked into it and got a job in a library, at a law library, and very quickly realized that that was not for me. But I did enjoy library school very much. So I enrolled in the University of Kentucky's School of Library and Information Science. And I started working at Lexington Public Library in Lexington, Kentucky. And that was my first stint in public libraries, which I really enjoyed, certainly more than the law library. And during that time, I also was able to work in the libraries at Eastern Kentucky University. So I had some time in an academic library, and I enjoyed that as well. But by the time I graduated with my master's degree, the first position to open up and offer me a job was in a public library. So that's where I landed. And I was working in a very small, very rural library as an adult services librarian, and just fell in love with it and fell in love with service to rural communities. Previously, I'd primarily lived in larger cities, Lexington and Louisville. So this was my first time really working in a rural area, and found that some of the challenges between rural and urban libraries are the same. Just the ways that you can address them are a little bit different. There's freedom in smaller libraries to be creative. You can try things in exciting and new ways when it's a smaller population. So from there, I worked for a few years and then went on to become the director of the Taylor County Public Library in Central Kentucky, which is in Campbellsville, Kentucky. And I did that for a while, and I loved my job. I thought this is where I was going to retire, but then things changed, and my husband was offered a position at Lees McRae here in North Carolina, and the position opened up in Wilkes, and here I am. So,
Ms. Turpin, you talk about this fascination you have with library. That'd be a good question for us to start. What is it? What is this calling, if you will, or what does it mean?
Well, I think that part of what I love about working in libraries is they are a place where anyone in the community, regardless of socioeconomic status, regardless of race, sexual orientation, can come and be served in a quality way. They can get the information they need, the correct information. They can check out a book, they can just look at a book, they can use a computer. And so it's that equality, and it's the service to everyone, and really having the opportunity to take the time to meet individual specific needs of a community as what's so special. I don't think that I could be happy doing anything else.
Wow.
And it makes me enjoy coming to work every day because the variety is wonderful. But also I really believe in our mission to serve the people of our community. And that's a special thing. I'm not sure everyone can say that about their job, so it makes me grateful every day when I wake up and I get to go to work.
Where all are welcome.
All are welcome.
All welcome.
All are welcome. I tell the staff when I first started, one thing that's important to me is that when someone comes into our library, they are welcomed, because it's as though they're coming into our home. And so a simple greeting acknowledging that you are a human being entering my place of employment and this place that I love, I think goes a long way and says a lot about who we are.
Do you remember the first day?
My first day on the job?
Yeah.
I do, actually. I was a little bit nervous, and I was very pregnant, and I was more concerned about remembering my way to the restroom than just about anything. And then my second day on the job was our Wilkes Reads Together event. And so it was
Reads together?
Yes, which is a major author visit. So I met a lot of people very quickly, and I needed to read the book, of course, before the author came. So I had just moved here, so I actually listened to it on the way down from Kentucky. I listened to the whole book, so that when I met him, I could say that I had, in fact, managed to read the book before my first day.
Yeah. Tell us what's going on today
So
at the Wilkes County Library.
Today's Wednesday, so we've got a lot going on Wednesdays, but we've got a lot of new fun things happening. This has been a big year for us. We have a new partnership with Wilkes County Schools. We've introduced something called Student Access, and that's a program that allows any child that's enrolled in Wilkes County Schools and educators to immediately have an account at the library using that student ID number. So most of the kids know it as their lunch number, and they can come to the library, they can tell us their lunch number, and they can check out 10 books without any late fees attached to them. Now this is just for books. They can't come and get a bunch of DVDs or anything, but we will not charge fines on those materials for children. Additionally, they can use that student access number to access our digital resources through things like NC Live, which has test prep and study guides, or NC Kids Digital Library, which is going to allow them to download ebooks. And this is kids and teachers, so the teachers can download these ebooks to use in the classroom. They can come to the library and check out some books for class and not have to worry about late fees if they are a little overdue bringing them back. And teachers have just as much to worry about as anybody else, if not a little bit more, so I think that they appreciate
So
that.
every youngster in our public schools has a library card?
Every youngster in our public schools has a library card,
Okay.
and they can come on in and check out those books. We're really hoping that we'll see increased usage over the summer because of that. We've already seen a lot of popularity among the ones that know about it. We've been trying to advertise in the schools, but there's a little over 6,000 students in Wilkes County schools.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of families to reach to educate them about this program. But our preliminary numbers are good, and I'm excited to see the data at the end to see which elementary schools have really jumped on the bandwagon and come into the library to use this program, and which ones we know we need to do a little more outreach in, and that'll be very telling too. So
We spoke about the significant media. There are all kinds of opportunities, and your explanations about why the book will always be important, why the print will always be, when you can hold it, will matter. Would you share that with me?
Sure. I think for many readers who are digital readers, we talked about ebooks and that kind of thing, where you download a book on your own device, maybe it's your phone, your Kindle, that kind of thing. Many of those folks still do use a paper book, and what we've found in the library is that we have very few digital-only readers. We may have a couple, but a lot of people like to have a print book to read during certain times of the day, particularly in the evenings. A lot of research suggests that you should just stay away from any electronic devices at all, even with that blue light filter, about an hour before bedtime. And latest research has shown that with children in particular, retention of what's happening in a book is linked to that paper book. So if you read an ebook, you're looking at a screen the whole time, and you're kind of clicking through or swiping through the book. And so it's very hard to recall where something happened in a story. But if you're reading a print book and you're turning pages, as you recall characters and events, your brain associates a location with that in the actual book itself. So retention improves when students are learning from paper books. And this is extremely important as you get into high school students who are reading thicker books. For little guys with picture books, I think there's a little more wiggle room in there. But it certainly is important when you're tackling those classics in your senior year of high school.
Yeah. Are there high traffic moments in a day? Is a day more, folks use our library more? Tell us a little bit about movement of
General
people,
usage.
will you?
Sure. We have, certainly Monday mornings are a busy time in the library. Monday mornings. We're closed on Sunday, so we get a lot of folks coming in to use a computer, to send a quick fax, that kind of thing early on Monday morning. Tuesdays are one of our biggest door count days, Tuesdays and Thursdays throughout the week. Things do trickle off a little bit by Friday afternoon. Now, Friday at 4 o'clock, we have a nice little rush that comes in every week. And that's because we close at 5 on Fridays, and folks want to come and quick get their books for the weekend, check out a few movies for the weekend, that kind of thing. And then Saturdays, it's Part of me a few years ago wanted to try to shorten our Saturday hours over the summer a little bit, sort of to the staff. And anecdotally, I thought, boy, Saturdays in the summer just aren't that busy in the afternoon. And then when I looked at circulation reports throughout the day, that was not the case. So sometimes I'm wrong with my assumptions. And as it turned out, Saturdays are pretty steady. A lot of folks just kind of work it into their routine, whatever works for them. Working people tend to come on Saturdays. Folks with small children who work during the week like to come on Saturdays. So if you need to use a computer, probably the best time to come would be mid-morning. In the afternoons, we can get pretty busy with homework and that kind of thing. So around 3:15, 3:30, it can get pretty busy in there in the computer
Is
lab.
there one most busy moment in a week?
Oh, golly.
I mean, an hour, or is there a program we're doing that is most attractive to people?
Well, certainly our programs for children throughout the week are very busy. We have 3 different options for families depending on the age of the child. So on Tuesdays, we have a preschool story time that we offer. And then on Wednesdays, we have a program called Music and Movement, and that's at 11. And that's a program designed to keep kids a little more active, but they're also using a curriculum that we've designed called Alphabet Ready by 5. So they can come in and they learn a letter of the alphabet, they learn about the phonetics with it and the sounds and that kind of thing. And then they get a little worksheet to take home too. So there's that activity later to build on what they've learned in the program. But it's a fun program. It's, like I say, it's music and movement. So they think they're just gonna get their sillies out and have a great time. But they end up learning a little something too.
You know, that a word I was trying to recall last week is remediation. Is the retention, how youngsters in the summer, the role our library will play in helping there, if you will.
And that's a huge part of what we do. For many years, summer reading program has been public libraries' bread and butter. It's our busy season. It's our, I like to say to the staff, it's like Black Friday from June, July, and some of August. The focus of summer reading is preventing what we call summer slide, summer reading loss.
Summer slide.
Yes, and that's a phenomenon where kids, they spend the summer having fun and playing outside, and that's great, but sometimes they forget a little bit about what they've learned the previous school year. So teachers spend a great deal of time early in the fall semester going over previously taught information. So the library is a great way for parents to help reduce summer slide with their kids, and the effects of using a summer reading program can carry a child into the next 2 years. So we know that studies show that it's very beneficial to children, and if parents come year after year, it's even more so. So we're doing more to try to attract new families to the summer reading program. Typically, it's been used heavily by parents who are more educated, who are a higher socioeconomic status because they understand the importance of it.
Yep.
So we've been really working hard to reach out to other types of families in our community to make sure they understand that this is a free program. Any child is welcome to be involved in. And that's part of why we got started with the lunch program in the library.
Right. You talked about a mobile internet. Let's share that with us.
Sure. So in Wilkes County, many of you know that we have the internet, of course. We've got great internet through Wilkes Communications, in fact, but there are still parts of the county where you just still can't get high-speed internet because we are a very rural area. So one of the things we've introduced at the library is the circulation of hotspots. And a mobile hotspot uses a cellular network to provide a wireless internet connection to people. So we have 7 of these little doohickeys. They kind of look like a pager, if you remember pagers.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So they kind of look like that, and you can take it around with you in your car or in your home and have an internet connection all along the way. We circulate them for free for 1 week. So you can just come to the library and check one out, and then they have an internet connection with you. So they've been popular with students who at the community college who are taking online classes. They like to take them home, and that way they can finish their finals and that kind of thing from home rather than having to come into the library. They're very popular among families who take them on road trips to the beach, so that the kiddos in the back can have an internet connection the whole time, and they can stream their television programs and that kind of thing. So they were our highest circulating item last year, more than anything else in the library, the hotspots.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. The Imagination Cafe. I was just so intrigued with that concept, and just share it with us.
So the Imagination Cafe is our interpretation of a library summer feeding program site. And libraries around the country have been participating in summer food service programs in their communities for several years now. That's nothing new. But what we have done in Wilkes County is incorporate it heavily into the summer reading program itself. We're calling it the Imagination Cafe. It's not free lunch at the library. So kids can come in, any child 18 or under can come and have a free lunch in the library Monday through Friday. And the first part of the summer, we get the food through the Wilkes County Schools Department of Nutrition, and that's through the federally funded program that they use there. And then as we get later into the summer and the growing season happens in Wilkes County, we have a partnership with the Wilkes County Master Gardeners.
Wow.
So when their plots start really producing tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers, they donate that produce to the library. We then donate that produce to local restaurants who the following week will prepare a meal to be served to the children in the library. So the kids the next week are receiving a locally produced, locally sourced, healthy meal for free. It's been an amazing partnership. It's been a lot of work, but it's been absolutely worth it. And it was really cool because this past year we also partnered with the Wilkes County Health Department. They received grant funding through the Health Foundation to distribute something called a market buck, which is a little coupon for $1 to be spent at the Wilkes County farmers markets, either one. And we gave those away on Thursdays. So a parent could theoretically come in Monday, see their child eat a casserole made with zucchini, which they thought they would never do, and then on Thursday get the market bucks and the recipe from Monday, because they probably asked for it, and then go to the farmer's market on Saturday and buy the food to make that meal at home. So it's been very full circle for us to see the response and the improvement. And we did survey parents before and after the program and asked them why they weren't serving more produce at home. If they were, what did they like, what was working for them? And we did find that by the end of the program, many parents said that they felt much more comfortable serving fresh produce to their kids. And I think as parents, and I have 2 little ones, there's often hesitation to introduce new types of produce to your kids. You just don't give them enough credit sometimes.
Do you remember the first meal we did?
At the summer lunch program?
Yeah.
I do. It was through this program. It was made by Dooley's in Wilkesboro, who does a great job of creating low allergen foods using these local ingredients. And he made, and it was a zucchini gluten-free lasagna. And so they had layered the zucchini and put meat in it and cheese and all that. And so the cheese, I think, hit a lot for the kids. And it was just wonderful, and the kids loved it.
Yeah.
And so it went so much more beautifully than any of us had anticipated.
And there's been 1,300 kids?
Well, 1,300 kids, which is a great number, but when you think about there's over 3,000 food insecure kids in Wilkes County, this is...
Food insecure?
Food insecure, yes.
Like that.
Mm-hmm. And that means that a child doesn't necessarily know where their next meal is coming from.
Food insecure.
Food insecure. It's a big challenge in Wilkes County and many counties in North Carolina. But I think as awareness grows and people realize that there are stigma-free resources like the Imagination Cafe available, we'll try to fight that as best we can.
Once again, how it works, the folk, everybody wins, and kind of step again around and say, this is how it works for us. Do it again. Okay.
So everybody wins. Everybody wins first thing.
Okay.
So the Wilkes County Master Gardeners have a plot that it's over at Cobb Creek Park, and then they have another one, I think, on the community college campus, or in their home, wherever they are, or anyone in the community can do this as well. They raise produce. They have an abundance of produce. They bring it to the library on Friday. I sort through it. I then, Friday afternoon, deliver it to the local participating restaurants, which are Elsewhere on 10th, Brushy Mountain Smokehouse and Creamery, Dooley's Restaurant in Wilkesboro, and Hadley's Restaurant in North Wilkesboro.
Oh my goodness.
And then the following week, on Monday, I pick up lunch from restaurant 1 to, I just go through the week like that. And what's great is everyone's involved. The kids get full bellies, and then while they're there, they get a literacy activity, of course. They do side programs, so it's still very much a library program. They have a dance party almost every day too, I will say that. So there's sort of a fitness component. And it's just been amazing. And the person that really drove this program is a woman named Gloria Watson, who is just a volunteer extraordinaire in our community. She'd be a good one for your show, Gary.
Okay.
But she's just great, and she used to volunteer at our lunch program when we were only using food through the Wilkes County schools, and she just thought, there's got to be a way that we can do this better, because it's school
So
food.
this idea came from Ms. Watson?
Well,
And
yes,
together?
for the restaurants, and then we
Okay.
talked about what we could do, and we both reached out to restaurants and kind of designed the logistics of it together, and it's been wonderful. I do think that it's good for us not only because the kids have that fresh produce component, but we are able to serve them right up until they go back to school. Typically the lunch program through the schools, they have to change gears and start preparing for a school year. So there's no way they can continue to do this right up until the kids go back. But this allows us to ensure that these kids have a meal the Friday before they go back to school on Monday. And so for many families, this has been a lifesaver for them.
Sure. Wow.
And it's not just our lowest income families, it's our middle income families too, because when the kids are home over the summer, that's a lot more gallons of milk, that's a lot more loaves of bread that you're suddenly purchasing that you weren't before. Wow. So it's been great. And great.
What a wonderful tribute to find a way, to make it work. And I just get so excited thinking about those meals that Gary Dent's a good friend at the community garden, and thank you for mentioning the folks that are doing the preparation of it. So what a highlight. Tell us about your staff.
My staff are wonderful. There's 22 people that work for your library system, and they are extremely talented. We have we have an adult services department that handles most of the upstairs of the library. So if you ever have a specific need, maybe you're looking for research help, or you've received a new camera for Christmas and you don't know how to use it, you can call. You can call the library and make an appointment. We'll help you with that. You can always we call it booking a librarian, so you can book somebody if you need help with resume assistance or a job application and NCWorks isn't open. You can make an appointment with us to sit down and we can walk you through that process. So they do extraordinary things. We also have a wonderful circulation department, which is our biggest department in the building, and those are the folks downstairs that are busy all day, every day, checking the books out. And they have, if you want to know what the popular books are, that's who you talk to. They see what everyone's reading, and they do something, we call it Reader's Advisory, and it's suggesting books based on what you like to read, and they're great at that. And that's a skill that you develop and you can be trained on, and so we work really hard to make sure all of our staff have Reader's Advisory training. So they know how to help you find books you'd like, that we train them to ask the right questions. So they're
trained to listen.
They're trained to listen, exactly. Ask the right questions and listen, kind of like you. And then our youth services department, we've got 2 full-time and 1 part-time staff member, and they do between, on a lean week, they're doing 3 programs. On a busy week, they're doing 7 or 8 programs a week for kids and families. So they do it all.
Julia Turpin, tell us about the genealogy. You said we have one of the finest programs in the world right here in town.
Indeed. When I first interviewed for the job in Wilkes County, after the interview process, I was given a library tour, of course, and we went into the genealogy room, and my eyes just opened wide, and I looked around and I thought, they have things they have no business having. Just the breadth of resources available in that space are phenomenal. And I think part of the reason is that Wilkes County Library has a unique relationship with the Wilkes Genealogical Society. The society, technically that's their collection. We help catalog the materials and curate it a little bit. We help with shelving, that kind of thing. But more or less, we let them handle that space. And so when we have folks coming in from out of town to do genealogy research, a society member will partner with them, help them get settled in, and that kind of thing. And then we have volunteers outside of the society who will help teach classes.
And you're looking for volunteers all the time,
We're
right?
always looking for volunteers,
Yes.
Exactly. Not just in the genealogy society portion of it, but in the whole library, we are always a good spot. If we like to reach out to teens if they need some volunteer hours over the summer, we have a program that they can do in youth services to help with setting up for the kids programs and shelving books and that kind of thing in particular.
We always need funds to buy new books.
We always need funds to buy new books. I'm glad you asked that, Gary. We do. We're fortunate in that we get local and state aid. However, times are tough, and right now none of our local tax revenue actually covers the cost of our collection or programs. So we do have some state money that helps cover our collection expenses, but we rely on donations of materials themselves, and also you look at materials themselves, and also financial gifts to supplement the collection.
So we have endowments and foundations and Friends of the Library.
The Friends of the Library are a huge part of that. They make their revenue off of these really great monthly book sales that they do. They're always the second weekend of the month. And their room is located behind the Wilkes County Schools Board of Education building. And their books, they're like $0.25 or $1. I mean, they're just rock bottom prices, but they sell so many of these and they're wonderful books, beautiful hardback books. They've got great things for kids. They have, every once in a while, they have a collection of vinyl records come in, and that's when I have to keep my husband away from there because he'll come home with too many records. But you can really find some great things, and so that's how they raise their money. That all of that comes back to the library, so we can pay for collection and programming. And then we have the Wilkes Library Endowment, which is a wonderful thing, and that allows people who really care about the library and want to make sure that it exists in perpetuity to sort of a different style of giving, but certainly appreciated.
So if we have folks who want to be involved, we'll have an area that we can connect them and just come on in and take a look.
That'd be great. There's information about getting involved with the library on our website, or they're always welcome to come by the library and just ask to speak with me. And I'd be happy to talk to them and see what they're interested in getting involved with.
And you also talked about lifelong learning.
Lifelong learning, that's right. It's not just for kids. It's every day, every age in a public library. And so that can mean that you're wanting to do something like this past weekend, we had a bread making class. So if you're interested in learning how to get started with sourdough bread, we had a great program for people. Wow. Yes, I should have attended. I can't make bread. But it exceeded expectations as far as registrants, and everyone that went had a really great time. And so fun things like that matter. We also do more serious classes like computer literacy classes for people. We'll have speakers come, authors, that kind of thing. We had an African American genealogy specialist come about a month ago, and he did a fantastic workshop and had resources available for people. It's the gamut. As you're an adult, your interests, as with children, go all different directions. So
I'm inspired by your vision, your enthusiasm, and your will to matter in the lives of others. So tell us about coming to Wilkes County Library, and every day you have an opportunity to matter. Tell us how that works in your life, if you will, as we close.
Sure. I think it's wonderful to be inspired by the people that you serve and also by the people that you work with. So sometimes seeing my staff interact with folks gives me chills and goosebumps when I see them going above and beyond. But also occasionally when I have the rare opportunity to still work a service desk, sometimes patrons surprise and just inspire me. We had a gentleman come in. I was working the desk. It's about a year ago now, but it's stuck with me. And he came in and he wanted to get a library card. And he was an older gentleman, looked kind of tired, big guy. And I said, okay, I just need to see your ID and proof of address. And he said, well, I've got this ID and I have a temporary address. And he handed me some paperwork, and he had just been released from prison. And he was in a sort of a transitional housing place.
Oh my goodness.
And he said, this is the first place I've been. I haven't even went to get a driver's license yet, because he wanted to get that library card so that he could start learning about GED study prep, and so that he could start trying to find a job. Yeah. It was the first place he went. That's really telling, and it reminds me of the importance of the library to people in our community. So
Thank you for your willingness to share the wonderment of your life and your career, and I'm so glad you answered that call, and I hope you'll come again. Ms. Julia Turpin, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and thanks so much for having me. It's been great.
Okay.